Alright, Landers, so in less than 12 hours time, we are going to be getting the new 1000-year Blood Bowl Round 10 Resurrections. We've already spoke about them on the channel, but they're overall setting up to be a very good Resurrection batch. Uryu is going to be a really good Link, Yugrim looks to be a lot better in Brave battles, and Basby, most importantly, is easily the best Resurrection of all time, finally a character picking up guard break in particular. However, as always, before a big banner like this does resurrect, let's rewind time and have a look at these 3 new characters when they first released over 3 years ago.
未来というのは変えられるものだろう。僕のはシュリフト、アンチサーシス、手出しは不要だ。
お前の全てを計りにかけ、引き返せぬ道を指し続け、お前の折れた計りにな。
そんなに俺に負けるのが光栄かよ。バーニングフルフィンガー。ブリーチ、ブレイブソウルズ。
So our story begins just like the previous Resurrection stories, with the characters themselves getting leaked. Back in 2020, we had a very big leaking problem. Every new banner was getting spoiled prior to them releasing, and it kind of ruins the hype and the surprise that comes with a potential new 1000-year Blood Bowl banner, especially one designed for the second part of the 5th anniversary. So around 15 hours prior to the banner releasing, a notable leaker at the time outright spoiled the banner that it was going to be a Yugrim, Basby, and also Uryu, and that of course made its waves. Many content creators at the time made videos on it, it got sent around on Discord, and of course it was also posted on Reddit. If you were playing Brave at the time, you were part of the community, chances were you would have seen this big spoiler. Not me though, I remember specifically logging off of everything to outright avoid these spoilers because we knew it was going to happen. Every banner was getting leaked. The public opinion of these 3 new characters being the part 2 of the anniversary was a tad bit mixed. Many people were excited for new Quincy's. At the time, they were still new, the previous banner in particular being our first ever Stamritter characters. But having a second part of an anniversary themed around 3 characters that have very big importance in the 1000-year Blood Bowl story kind of made sense. Basby and Yugrim in particular were very popular, so them of course getting their first character in Brave Souls was going to be naturally exciting, and then Uryu, obviously being a well-known and beloved character, was also probably the most exciting character of this bunch, especially because many people have been waiting for a 1000-year Blood Bowl Uryu from the very first round of 1000-year Blood Bowl being announced. So while the initial surprise of the character reveals themselves was spoiled, the character selection was good enough for an anniversary, and I think Tomo pretty much sums it up the best.
Look at that. That is actually a pretty mad banner.
The morning of July 28th, the characters themselves are officially revealed, and surprisingly, the reception wasn't the greatest. Uryu looked really cool as a character. Skill-wise, he was quite inoffensive. He looked to be a strong character. He did actually introduce a new mechanic in the game, that being the status element reversal, which of course reflected his Shrift ability, and it was really cool fan service that I think many players did actually appreciate. Yugrim, being a Brave battle character, was probably the most disappointing thing about this banner, especially a character as popular as Yugrim. A lot of people were still annoyed at the fact that Arskin, the previous 1000-year Blood Bowl banner, was also a Brave battle character, and to see yet again another popular stammer to get the Brave battle treatment really did suck, especially considering that this character was absolutely broken, introducing the first ever Brave battle invincibility skill and also Brave battle counter, which made sense given his Shrift abilities, but this would pretty much make Brave battle super toxic, and it's something that we saw continue throughout the entire year, even now in 2024. As for Basby, he was the least exciting of the 3 in a way. Uryu and Yugrim, despite Yugrim being a Brave battle character, were introducing new mechanics, new skills, and Basby was just a standard good SP character. His attribute and killer combination didn't really do him the best set of favors, but he overall looked to be a very strong character and probably the best character to get from this particular banner if you just enjoy good gameplay characters. Speaking of gameplay, the gameplay finally comes out, and yeah, more disappointment snuck in. Uryu on paper looked to be a strong character, but after seeing his strong attack kit, not many people were impressed. Remember, at this point in time, having range collision strong attacks really was massively detrimental to the character's enjoyability and also how powerful they are. Nowadays, even in 2024, even if you have range collision strong attacks, as long as you have good damage output, you can still be practically usable. The most recent 1000-year Blood Bowl Rangiku being an example of that. She could have been better with better strong attacks, but the range collision isn't that big of a deal nowadays because characters hit ridiculously hard. In 2020 though, it was kind of bad. So Uryu being one of the main headliners was kind of disappointing given his lack of good strong attacks. Duragam again being a brave battle character. Gameplay-wise, the opinion of this character didn't change. And then Bazby just remained to be, again, a good, strong SP character. The overall impression for this banner wasn't the greatest. It's the second part of an anniversary. The previous part, being part 1, 5th anniversary Ichigo and Byakuya, were absolutely amazing, pushing the power creep to likes that we've never seen before, and part 2 really didn't live up to expectation. After seeing this banner, most people wanted to skip the banner. The fillers didn't help, and many went back into part 1. The characters themselves were just naturally better. For a second part of an anniversary introducing 2 new stam writers and a very popular character that is Uryu, you would expect the overall opinion to be a lot more positive. And while many people were excited for these characters being game, I don't think Caleb hit the mark with these characters and what they actually introduced into the game and how they were meant to be played. I was still pretty excited about this banner at the time, but it wasn't rare to see many people just say that they're outright skipping this banner. Although chances are, they still summoned. It's an anniversary banner. It's 1000-year Bloodborne. Most people, let's be honest, still summoned. It happens every time. But now fast forward to current times, 2024. The characters are set to get resurrected in just under 12 hours time. So let's check out the characters once more prior to them resurrecting to see how they actually do play in-game. Alright then, so first up, let's have a look at Bazby, right? Who's a character that I'm actually looking forward to because obviously he's getting the best resurrection that we've ever seen in this entire game, right? His resurrection is going to be absolutely insane, and it's setting a higher standard for upcoming resurrection, given that he actually was given Guard Break. Now, Bazby, one of those characters that, again, on release, he was probably the best banner of the banner, but like he wasn't like the most exciting in the sense that he didn't bring anything entirely new. He just felt like a standard end of month character. Maybe not as special for what you kind of expect for an anniversary type character, but honestly, he did age very well in my opinion. Especially because this was at a time before Inheritance Trials, and Inheritance Trials, given the Iron Skin ability, kind of encouraged you to either one, pierce Iron Skin, which wasn't a thing for a very long time, but the way of getting around that was, of course, having the increased chance to inflict status augments. So characters that had the increased chance prior to IT, they just got significantly better over time, and Bazby was one of those characters. I guess it also kind of helped out too that we didn't really get that many good speed or Ranka killers for quite some time. Now since then, of course, we have characters like Uryu, for example, but you know, prior to Uryu, it was Azashiro, and they came out like 3 months apart. Before Azashiro, I mean, Bazby was basically our best Ranka killer for like maybe a year? 2 years maybe? And honestly, gameplay-wise, like, he still plays quite fine. His kit is honestly perfectly fine in 2024. It's just, of course, the damage output that's a bit lacking here. We are in single-player IT, so we are able to one-shot the mobs. But, you know, if we took him into co-op IT, it'd be a completely different story. He is a character that realistically only wants to be put against Arankas. He does play better that way because he does have his increased chance to inflict stat summons. And unfortunately, he actually can get burnt, which, to be fair, kind of makes sense. It's not like he's immune to burn damage. You know, Yama, for example, I believe was able to burn him, but his flames did at least counteract it and mitigate the damage to a certain extent. Let's use the SA3, though. I really do like the charge effect SA3, the animation pre-charge and post-charge when you fully charge it up. They're very different from each other, and it looks really cool. But I'd say Bazby's resurrection, his upcoming one, is definitely going to complement his gameplay very well. He already has the increased chance, at least when he has Killer, to inflict status, but that's going to go very well with his SP boost. And the fact that he has Guard Break now means that if we took him into this quest again, at no point in the future will characters have Guard against him, which is really cool. It's a more modernized character with the resurrection. I kind of joked about it in my comment section that he's actually better than Aaroniero. Truth be told, maybe he actually is, like, unironically. The burn damage is kind of annoying, but we can get around that. Now, I will say that I would have loved by the time he resurrected, which again is tomorrow, that he would have received a new character. Unfortunately, as we did see though, during the Toshiro and also Sangdu banner, Bazby was not part of that, which really did suck. It definitely tempered the excitement that that banner could have brought. At least though, for Bazby fans, you at least get to play around with this character with his newfound resurrection starting tomorrow, because it definitely will make him a lot more enjoyable and a lot more fun to play with. Now, even though Bazby did actually get skipped in the Toshiro and Sangdu banner, there's definitely always the possibility they could do him in the future banner. They don't have to do him with Toshiro, as we saw with the Minia, Yumachika, and also Rangiku banner. In all intents and purposes, they could just put a set of random characters together. We are, of course, eventually going to get a Holo Toshiro banner. Maybe Bazby can be thrown in there, or maybe he'll get put alongside some other Quincy's that maybe aren't as popular, that can't really get a big banner of their own. So they're going to throw in Bazby to make the banner look better and sell better. Because Bazby's definitely popular. I mean, I actually really enjoyed his gameplay when he first came out. I really enjoyed that the character was one of the few stun writers that was added to the game. Because he's one of those few stun writers in the series too that get a lot of character development too. A big moment in the final season that we are going to see. And also he has Josuke's voice actor from part 4 of JoJo. So that already makes the character more enjoyable in my opinion. And he has a cool song. And overall, the character's pretty good. He's pretty good, right? The only thing that he was lacking nowadays is damage output, and that resurrection that he is about to get tomorrow basically fixes that. So I'm curious to see how he's going to play out tomorrow with this newfound upgrade. I guess we'll have to wait and see, though. Alright then, so next up we have Uryu, who I really did like this character's model. Uryu in the Quincy outfit, the Stammeter outfit in particular, is a really cool design. Now, unfortunately, again, at release, Uryu itself wasn't the greatest. As you can see there, we did actually just use our SA1, and it pushed back the enemy. But it's still that same old range collision that doesn't have the best AoE to it. The pushback attacks doesn't really do any favors, and sometimes, you know, if you don't get all the hits in, as you can see there, the enemy itself just stays alive. So you're essentially having to use, like, multiple strong attacks just to kill the same amount of enemies that maybe Bazby would kill, with less strong attacks. SA1 there, as you can see, didn't actually kill that enemy. Now, this range collision attack, they eventually did fix. Not fix, but made it better with future characters. Nowadays, if a character has a pushback SA1, it's not too bad. Like, again, I think Rangiku is the perfect example of that. But these ones had the problems of not grouping the enemies up, because they could just easily fall out of the attack if they're not hit, like, directly in the middle. The SA2 itself, honestly, I think is a perfectly fine strong attack, especially nowadays. But back in 2020, where, you know, 960 AoE in front of you was better, having this SA2 with the combination of the SA1 wasn't really the greatest. Now, unfortunately, I wanted to kind of test out the status element reversal, but I don't think any character in this IT can actually inflict status elements on us. I don't think anyone here does it, right? Yeah, these all just do damage. They don't inflict status elements, which kind of sucks, because we can't really test out the main thing about this character. But one thing I will say, I do like the status element reversal skill. Again, it made sense this character having it, right? It was cool fan service. It was always really cool of Caleb turning a potential shift ability into an actual gameplay mechanic, and status element reversal did make sense.
僕のシュリフトアンチサーシス手出しは不要だ
Again, cool subbomb. It's also one of the few subbombs where a character is damaged. That's one thing Caleb just for some reason doesn't do. It's kind of the style of the game, right? Characters won't take any battle damage. Very rarely do you see a character in a subbomb beat up. Obviously, Uryu had to get beat up because it made sense. It's the whole point of his, you know, ability. But it's one of the few characters in-game that does actually take damage. I think Roka is another example of that. Her actually using Mugetsu almost killed her. And in the game special, it looks like she's doing it no problem. This time, let's take him into Inheritance Zone so we can quickly just try out the status element reversal, right? The SA1 does do a good amount of damage here. I guess for when the character released, it wasn't too bad. Because if you're taking him into Inheritance Zone, I mean, it's perfectly fine right, with his gameplay. The thing is, though, in regards to status element reversal, let me see if we can quickly find some enemies that can actually damage us, or poison us, or burn us. The idea of it is cool, and again, I would love to see it return, but it's not really that practical. Like, forcing yourself to take damage is not really what you want to do, especially in co-op type of content, right? So I think there's an enemy here that can paralyze. This can paralyze us, right? Let's try and kill a few of them here. So yeah, if we get hit here, we just reverse it back to them, right? It's a really cool idea. It really is, because in a way it can just let you get back up to full stamina if you do take damage. But again, in the practical sense, it's not that good, because in co-op, when there's a lot of enemies going on, there's a lot of, you know, different strong attacks being used, sometimes it's hard just to stand still and take damage, especially force yourself to get inflicted with status element. And in co-op content, as we saw when we moved into Inheritance Shards being like some of the more endgame content, I mean, Inheritance Shards enemies hit too hard. So even when you do get inflicted with status element, the enemies are hitting harder than you're actually getting healed for. Now, of course, you could use a Hojikusai and potentially fix that, but sorry, again, it doesn't really work, right? Let's use our SA3 though, and then finish up with the 1. But essentially, any mechanics in this game where you're forced to take damage doesn't really work out the best. Even the dodge counter-attack stuff that Azashiro had, it was nice to know, but it was definitely a weird gimmick that you didn't really see the full potential of. And then even low stamina damage abilities is also going through the same problem, has been going through the same problem since its introduction, is that while it does offer more damage when at low stamina, as opposed to full stamina only being 20%, at least back when it was first introduced, the quality of life is a lot better staying at full stamina as opposed to being low stamina where you have to force yourself to take damage. If there was a way for us to start at low stamina, it honestly would be a lot better. As for element reversal though, doesn't have a lot of practical uses, and you can see here that not many characters have it. I guess maybe it would work for no attack damage characters, maybe even in Brave battles it'd be kind of cool to see it return. But the last time we saw a character have status element reversal, it was Bankai Mayuri, who was like the end of 2022. So not a single character in 2023, and thus far 2024 has had this skill. Which I don't know if that's a shame or not. Again, not really that big of a deal, but it's something that I've actually never realized until now. As for Yugam, though, there's not much we can do with this character showcase as of right now because Brave Battles is currently down. Ranking reset just happened, but honestly, he was a pretty cool character. Like, I know he was super toxic and he started like the super toxic meta that we still see to this day. But in a way, sometimes having that toxic character is fun, right? I'll be honest. I remember, I think I did a top 10 favorite characters, and I believe he actually made it into my top 10 because having him was just, it just made my team better, right? It's fun winning in Brave Battles, even if you do understand it's like super toxic. Truth be told though, his nat string was actually not bad. I really do like his nat string. The sound effects sounds cool. Really fast too. For a Brave Battle character, I mean, he's quite enjoyable right now despite the lack of guard break. And strong attack kit wise is not too bad. Beam 1. Really cool AoE in front of him. I think the green aura that he has going on him when he uses attacks is really cool. And then I never actually realized it until now, believe it or not. Never really looked at the character like that, but his SA2 actually takes out the shield. I would love for the future Yugen that we do get to actually have this shield all the time and not just appear during the SA2. But the shield attack being a lunge forward does kind of make sense. And then you can see his particular sword, and the nice little cool little fan service part, I guess, attention to detail, is that you do see the little Basby logo on it. Going into Stark though, let's quickly use our soul bomb before Ichigo can kill.
The balance. 我が身の不運はさらなる不運としてお前に降り注ぐ。
It's a cool soul bomb. What can I say? I actually didn't even realize where that attack came from. I only realized it when we saw it in the anime that he does it against Sangdu, and that's how Sangdu actually dies. So I was very surprised that was the soul bomb, but I guess it makes sense. But I'm excited for a potential core 3 and 4 Yugrim. Not to spoil obviously, but if you know, you know. That's going to be really cool if we ever do get it in game. But either way, lads, that was the video for today, going over 1000 Year Blood around 10 before they do resurrect. Looking forward to their resurrections. I will say, having all 3 of them in your lobby right now actually look kind of cool. They all have different auras. Honestly, this banner as a whole, being an anniversary banner, I guess did make sense. The 3 characters in particular being in a banner, again, also makes sense. And I think maybe it was worthy of an anniversary banner. I'm not really too sure. I think it's definitely my least favorite Part 2 anniversary banner, which is weird to say because this was 1000 Year Blood War. It was 2 new Stern Ritters into the game for the very first time we ever saw them voiced and also playable, basically. But I think what really soured this banner for a lot of people was more so the filler pull was definitely bad. I know that was one of the bigger complaints about this at the time. And then likewise, the characters themselves weren't anything special to as what you expect from a Part 2 or even an anniversary banner, especially post 5th anniversary, which definitely kicked up the power creep. Ori was ultimately held back by his strong attack kit. Yugen was great, but just a Brave Battle character, which in of itself has its own problems. And then Basby was just a standard SP character. Nothing too special, but he did age very, very well. And that statement also aged very well because now he has the best resurrection in the entire game. So let me know if you had any opinion about these characters. Were you playing when they first released? Let me know. Were you subscribed to me when they first released? We did actually make content back then. So let me know if you're an OG. Either way, hope you liked and enjoyed the video. So that's next time. Take care and peace.